It's my great pleasure to introduce our next moderator, Amar Salahiye, a great entrepreneur, a great human being, and a wonderful friend. Amr?
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I would like to have the rest of the panelists please join me on the stage. So today we're going to discuss entrepreneurship, investments opportunity in Syria. This is our topic for today. And I'm very happy to have a diverse panel today with me. And I'm going to first just briefly describe what I do and what my career is. And then we'll have each person just describe their bio, what they've done, and what they're interested in. And then we'll jump straight into the questions. So again, my name is Amr Salahiye. I have a venture studio called SYNC25 here in the Bay Area. We develop medical devices. We start medical device companies, and our aim is to develop these companies and sell them to the very large strategics. So most of what we do is engineering, design, and development, and getting the products into the clinic. I was born in Beirut. We lived in Damascus at the time, and I've oscillated between Damascus and Beirut in my childhood, depending on the war, the economic situation, and so forth. And then in '82, we went to south of France, finished in boarding school there. We were lucky enough to be able to go there. And then I made my way to Cleveland, Ohio, where I went to Case Western Reserve University, and I studied biomedical and electrical engineering. I was fortunate enough to get an internship in one of the prominent interventional cardiology companies here in the Bay Area called ACS. And from there, I got my green card. I spent 6 years working in a large company, and then I joined a startup. And really, that was the beginning for me in terms of I knew what I wanted to do for the rest of my life, which is start new companies, establish new teams, and develop innovative solutions for medical and healthcare. Since then, we've started a number of companies, sold them, and now we have a venture studio in the Bay Area, and we work mostly on cardiology devices and ophthalmology devices. And I think what Miyassar was referring to is our system is really trying to facilitate and really speed up developing these companies. So we have a process and a system which is, a shared back office that really supports each of the companies. But each company is completely independent and is able to move forward on its own. There are smaller teams, autonomous, sort of well-resourced groups that move forward, take the risk for their own project one at a time. The thing they don't have to worry about is a lot of that infrastructure, but they focus on their products and the development efforts that they are pursuing. So that's my background, and I'm looking forward, and part of my reason to really be part of this panel is to learn and understand how I could take advantage of what's taking place in Syria, how I can make a difference and actually help our businesses ourselves. How could I hire people? How could I set up a facility and an office and so forth? So I haven't been to Syria yet since the fall of the regime, and I'm really looking forward to be there this summer. And so my questions are really to learn from the team that's recently come back from there. And I'm really going to sort of focus the questions just how can I do it? What can I do to be part of this? And how can I impact my business by coming back to Syria? So those are some of the questions we're going to address. Rama, please walk through your bio.
Thank you so much. First, I'm grateful to SYNC and the organizers for making this incredible opportunity happen for all of us, both in Syria and here. My name is Rama Shaqaqi, and I am a partner at Transform VC. We invest in deep tech with impact, and we invest in founders from our community. We have 5 companies that have reached $1 billion valuation in the portfolio, something we're very, very proud of. We invest in the early stages, seed, and then do follow-ons in Series A. And we are sector agnostic, but the focus is AI, robotics, material science. And 2 of the companies that we have invested in are represented in this community, something that I'm very proud of. Before that, I started my career as a computer engineer, worked in telecom and software development. I had my first exit in my 20s in the data center management world. and then moved on to run a fintech company in Dubai. I was fortunate enough to be in Dubai when it was taking off from an entrepreneurial support perspective and got to witness a lot of the challenges and opportunities that that ecosystem has been through. And my passion has always been in impact, and so I was running an impact tech incubator for 11 years and managed to bridge the world of the nonprofit and the for-profit and work with governments on projects related to impact and how you mobilize the youth bulge that was viewed as a challenge as an opportunity to work with the private sector. So all of those learning experiences are going to come to bear. The last thing that I'll mention is about 10 years ago, the World Bank rallied a group of Syrian Americans in the diaspora to set up a Syrian International Business Association. And it was so challenging to get this many people in the room. This is a great opportunity now that the regime has fallen, that we don't have that kind of worry of collaborating with each other. But one thing that I want to hopefully come away with this is tech touches everything, and we need to extend our collaboration to all of the other sectors that we impact.
Muhammad?
Hello, everyone. Mohammed Kaswani here all the way from Dubai. Truly inspired by the organizers of the conference. I was inspired in Damascus. In fact, I've been sharing it quite often. I haven't felt this inspired. I haven't felt this energized since being in Damascus with the team. And I think what we're seeing here and everybody in this room, all of the brilliant minds, and more importantly, for once, our sense of identity as Syrians awakened is such a beautiful thing. So truly grateful to be amongst good friends. In terms of what I do, I wear 3 hats, so I'm focused on 3 different things now. As an operator, I lead a couple of different business verticals for a company in the Middle East called Property Finder, which is the Zillow of our region. As an investor, I'm a venture partner with a European fund called Flashpoint that invests in Europe, Middle East, with a thesis or an investment thesis that is incredibly applicable to what we're about to see in Syria, that is focusing on regions of the world that have talent density and capital efficiency and are able to export these technologies to the world. And the third hat that I wear is also with a group of our friends here, Basil, Abdul Hamid, Alia, is an advocacy organization that we recently launched called SAP, or Syrian American Alliance for Peace and Prosperity. One little anecdote that I'd love to leave with this group, and it really gets me to believe in Syria, is if an idiot like me can be in the tech business, right? Anybody can, and definitely anybody in Syria can. There's a very special friend here in the audience, Basil Hashim. I remember calling him early 2018. I said, hey, I have this wild idea of wanting to build a gas station on wheels and deliver it to people's homes. Basil, at the time, I had nothing to do with tech, right? I was in oil and gas, running a bitumen plant, which is like asphalt roads, like really boring shit. And then I called Basil and I said, can this be done? He was like, well, can you put together a PRD? And I said, what's a PRD? Next thing you know, we built a tech startup that now delivers gas 100,000 times a day in Dubai, and is in one of the most successful in the region. And that's how I got into the space. So super eager to share those experiences, whether in operating or investing, and enable an ecosystem in Syria.
Nawar?
Hi, everyone. My name is Nawar Shara. I'm from Daraa. I never get cheers when I say that, but and my background, basically, I was born in Kuwait, but I went to school in Syria. So I'm very proud of attending the University of Damascus economics. But I always looking for something different. I was always looking for the education, the quality education, the opportunities to grow and learn beyond what you have experienced in Syria. I wanted to see the world. I wanted to see what others did. And so I always looked for opportunities until I was very fortunate to land on a scholarship to come to the US for a master's degree. I ended up doing my PhD in applied statistics, which was really, really a daunting process. I cried every weekend because I saw everybody out and I'm struggling to make sense of the world that I put myself in. Fast forward, when people asked us in Syria, what did you want to do when you grow up? We really had no, vision of where we wanted to go because the opportunities were very limited and everybody was fighting for their bit in life. And I had no idea. I wanted one day to be a fashion designer, the other day I wanted to be a doctor, and then I wanted to be an entrepreneur. So when I was offered to do a master's, I was given information systems, computer science, applied statistics, and I said, how about computer science? And the lady who was interviewing me was like, no, you're going to do applied statistics. And I said, okay, as long as you take me to the US. And she said, yeah. So I came to American University. And I started in financial markets. I was modeling the market using Dirichlet distributions and so forth. And then my advisor fell ill. And he said, you have to find another one. I'm severely ill, and I can't continue with you. So the next one was an advisor who focused on clinical trials and medicine. So an applied statistician who ended up doing medicine. And I started a job at MedStar Health, which is the largest healthcare organization in the northeastern part of the country. We're 10 hospitals, and I sit in the research institute. So I'm currently the chief of artificial intelligence in healthcare applications at MedStar and Georgetown University Medical Center. And my main focus is to find solutions using evidence-based. So I sit on the data, the electronic health records, and I have over 7,000 projects using electronic health records for research purposes, clinical and translational research. I really want to be a tech guru like these people around me. I know how to write a $100 million grant, but I don't know how to exit a small company. And I'm learning from these giants. And just a small thing to show you the power of connection and the recent social media. This year, I put a symposium in Georgia, and I was adamant about finding somebody from Syria, and maybe a woman would be great. And I searched online, and I found Drama. And she was my keynote speaker, and I say that with true, honest to God, she changed my life since I met her this past summer. Maybe she's changed so many people's lives who need it, but the opportunities, the things that I learned of what she's doing and the exposure that she gave me to working with Syrians and actually going to Syria and meeting all these amazing people, that's a turning point in my life. All my accomplishments, I have 4 kids, they're doing PhDs and all of that, which is great. But having the opportunity to meet amazing people like Rama and others from SYNC, Muyassar, Basil, I have like a long list. I wrote them. These people have really, really impacted me in a way that I have never, ever experienced. And it's so great to be with Syrians, but even more great and impressive is to be Syrian in this world and teach people how us as Syrians bring something different to the world. Thank you so much.
Michael.
My name is Michael Arbach. خلقان وكبران بالشام بمدارس الشام فريز مالك يوسف عظمة بلعب المحبة. Then after 10 years in Russia as a mathematics major, I came back to Syria, started a little business, lost everything, and came to, after the war, because of the war, we fled the country essentially and came here, started from scratch, didn't speak a word in English. This country was amazing to us, so I started from a software engineer to a consultant, to started my consulting company, to started taking bigger projects, and I got into starting companies, and I did multiple successful exits, and then now I run my own venture studio, where we take early stage ideation phase companies, and we take them to operational companies, and we do the whole consulting and implementation as a partner in these companies. And now we're exceptionally, and we're enormously inspired by all the energy of this new phase in Syria, by the energy of all of you, the new identity that we have, that we regained our identity, to bring all this tech knowledge back to Syria. So we have team, and we want to expand that team, and we want to bring as much tech jobs to Syria as we can from all other parts of the world. So I appreciate the effort of SYNC and all of you being here.
Well, it's the first comment before we jump into our panel topics here. One of the amazing things that's happening that I see in this meeting and the conversations that are take place before and after is that we're getting to know each other to a large extent here, which is a fantastic opportunity. We found each other. It seems like there's a lot of people here that I don't know, and I'm like, wow. What an opportunity. We finally finding each other, and we're for this common goal of really making a difference in our home country. So I'm going to jump into it right away and say the first question I have on my mind, I'd like to just go in a row. What should investors think about when they're considering an investment in Syria and Syrian companies? What are the things they should consider? Given the current situation, we're quite early, this has just happened recently, but if somebody's eager, ready to go, wants to do something, what are the things that they normally wouldn't think about that they have to, consider?
I think the obvious one is sanctions. So starting from there and then deciding, okay, given that there will be a solution, what can I do to make sure that I'm quite ready when that solution comes up? And so that readiness phase is what we've been talking to Syrian founders on the ground. How do we get to speak a common language? How do we develop a common understanding of what we expect and what they expect, and make sure that building a relationship, like in the US, when you are looking to invest in a company, you spend a long time building a relationship with them. So that relationship building phase is what has to happen now.
Thank you. Hamad?
Has anyone here ever tried an ice bath or cold plunge? Okay, there's a few of them. Look, I would say think of the impact, right? A lot more than thinking about the pain, right? It's we've been discussing it a lot, amongst, the investment community, is the impact of us diving in right now, right, with faith, is much, much, much higher than diving into an investment in a mature economy, if you'd like. So it's a bit of a binary outcome, right? If, naturally we're all working really hard on the sanctions issue, and we have very strong faith that sanctions will be lifted. It's a matter of when, not a matter of if. And I think Miyassar said that earlier, and I really appreciated hearing it. If anybody in this room is waiting for sanctions to be lifted, to contribute to the tech industry in Syria, then you're in the wrong room. But then, once the macro improves and once the country goes back to normal, it's not a 5x or 10x opportunity. It's a 100x opportunity.
Thank you, Muhammad.
Yeah, I look at Syria as a body with multi-organ failures, and each organ requires attention, and each one of us can help in their own way. And I think the least that we can do that now is give them a window to the world and mentorship and connection to feel that we are here, we didn't forget you, and we're going to be, at your doorsteps the minute we can. And like they said, sanctions will not stop us. If any of us can, offer any type of help, I think we're doing that right now.
Perfect. Michael?
When investing in Syria, there is only one thing that we think of. It's the 100x, and there isn't anything else. There is no going back. We're going to fall forward. Like, Syria is like our kids. You don't just give up on your kids. It doesn't matter how hard it is. We understand the challenges are enormous. We're going to keep at it 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, until we get the 100x out of our investments.
Maybe I can just focus the question a little bit. Can you walk us through, as you've seen in following your visit, what are the what's missing from the current environment that stands out the most? We know there's a lot of things, but the biggest challenge is if I want to set up an entity and start developers building product. I see that some people have managed to make things happen. What is the thing that's missing? And the next thing I'm going to ask is, how have people managed? Let's start with, what are the biggest things that are challenging that, maybe you can prepare yourself as you get into this space here? Rama?
So from an investor perspective, it's familiarity of an ecosystem. So here we've got everything from standard acceleration, Y Combinator offers. By the time you get the startup, you know exactly what they're talking about. They know what you're talking about. That doesn't exist. Government regulations, the clarity on what's allowed, what's not allowed, very vague. A reference point like PitchBook or like Carta is not there. And so one of the initiatives we've taken as a group is to say, okay, there's 20 or 30 of us, let's get together, let's put our name behind something. Right now we're calling it investsyria.info. It's a website that invites founders to go ahead and put their information on it, and then we'll go to the next level of detail, but kind of building our own little pitch book, and then from an investor perspective, starting to coalesce who's doing what and how can we collaborate rather than compete at this early stage.
Okay, thank you. Muhammad?
Amr, I'm going to misbehave and answer your question differently. Instead of what's missing, I want to talk about what didn't exist before SYNC and what does exist after SYNC. And this is incredibly powerful. A critical component in the tech space is the presence of a network, right? Network of investors, of mentors, of collaborators, businesses, clients, suppliers, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That didn't exist before SYNC. And now it exists like I've never seen it before. There's so much eagerness to participate that at least we're sensing in the GCC. A lot of the prominent funds in the region dived head in, went to Damascus simply on the back of the relationship, of the reputation of some of the people who were there. And now I'm going to make a super controversial statement. Some people don't like me for it. Some people love it. We, the Syrians, are the Jews of the future, right? So there's so much eagerness, and I mean this in a very positive way, in the sense that what really helped the Jewish community advance, right, is that connectivity, is their support for each other. And I see that incredibly powerful movement happening.
Thank you, Mohammed. Okay, Nawar, go for it.
So I think there are two types of investments that we're looking at. Syrians by nature will be the first to invest in their country, but there's the other investments that are going to grow the market and extend beyond what we can do simply, and that's the economic, and the economic and political environment that people would look at first before they can make an educated decision to invest in that country and so forth. And now I think we're in that limbo phase where people are not sure yet, but hopefully we're getting there, and I think that's what's going to make a difference.
Thank you, Nawar. Michael?
So we'll talk about this question from the other side. Unfortunately, there is so much missing in regulatory and in infrastructure and in operation on the ground, but we do have a lot. We do have the Syrian talent, and I would like to double what Mohammed here said. I think this is our biggest wealth that we can have, is our network, and what we're doing here by building more and more strong relationship. And this is a huge wealth that will not only contribute to the growth of the Syrian inside, which is our goal, but also to the growth of the network in general. And given these two, I think all these things that are missing will be we're going to knock them off one after the other, no matter how long it takes.
Thank you, Michael. Maybe we can just walk through a couple of examples. It's always fun to have these anecdotes and stories, and maybe some of you guys have collected about how have people managed during these periods. Can maybe some of you guys tell us a few stories. It's always nice to hear. It illustrates what people have done and it inspires. How have people managed to be and do some of the things they've done despite of the challenging situations, these smaller companies and so forth? What have you heard that sort of got you, on notice?
So I was fortunate enough to sit down with a group called the Syrian Entrepreneurs Union, and the ladies and gentlemen in this group are phenomenal. I've been with entrepreneurs from around the region in the Middle East. The way that they get to speak about the enormous challenges that they have and laugh at their responses and how they dealt with it is absolutely incredible. So one of the young men was speaking about how he built this medical care system for clinics and deployed it, had active customers, and then the government came and took it and did nothing with it and killed it. And so now he's on round 2 and he's doing it again. And that kind of just like matter-of-factness about how this happens was echoed with everybody that I met with. So I'll just say one additional thing is they're both incredibly fearful of what's going to come into Syria, especially like the Turkish ecosystem or the Syrians in the GCC. But when you remind them, you come from generations of entrepreneurs. You have companies that are 100 years old that the GCC doesn't have. You have industries that are thousands of years old that also the GCC doesn't have. All of a sudden they smile and they're like all of us, we found what it is that we feel, but now it's actually articulated and we can just run with that. So it's very inspiring.
Thank you.
I'd say in a very simple word, survive, right? I was talking to, and you guys saw the video from Malik, the CTO of Order, and I was having lunch with the founder, Hadi, just 2 days before being here in Dubai. And he was walking me through the series of challenges that have happened since 2019. Right? He was like, so we got hit with Caesar, then we got hit with COVID, then we got hit with currency this, and then electricity, and then I don't know what happened in Beirut, and I don't know what happened where. And they just somehow miraculously survive. These businesses, I talked to a founder of one of the local marketplaces, $500,000 in paid-in capital, right? Produced $6 million in sales, right? And it's a profitable business, right? You don't, at least in the GCC, those kind of metrics you never see. So that capital efficiency is incredibly powerful, and they just plow through life.
Nice. Nawar, do you have any stories?
Well, I'm not going to say the same thing, but I think the power of will and survival skills. The one thing I noticed is that people came to us and asked us how they can learn from us. And I was like, how can we learn from you? We have all the resources, and yet we're like, you have nothing, and you were able to manage these students, and you were able to inspire them and encourage them. So I think it's innate in us as populations in that part of the world who are used to struggle and used to the scarcity of the resources. We try to be resourceful and make things out of nothing.
Thank you. Michael?
Yeah, I think I'm going to double this because it's really mind-boggling. And I'm going to go to the lower level, like the early stage people who are bootstrapping their ideas. And you talk to them, and we've been working with them for years. But he's sitting there is no electricity, there is no infrastructure, and he's talking to you about how he's going to do his startup. And they done so much research on their ideas, both in the region and internationally. I'm going to bring just one example, and there's like hundreds and hundreds of these successful example. One is called Care Syria, and it's like next door. They studied, and the guy never left Syria, but he studied next door. He learned how to progress. He learned the business model, and he learned from other countries. And now he's applying it and gaining users. with zero funding, and he's doing it like just on his own time, and they're gaining users. It's really amazing, like exactly what you said, how you're able to get to this level of sophistication with all this lack of resources and support. And that's the resilience, and that's the enormous assets that we all have the opportunity to learn from and invest in.
Thank you, Michael. Just a quick follow-up question on this example. So when he's doing this app, I guess, the next door for Syria, perhaps the region, is it all in Arabic, or is it in English, or is it both, or?
It's actually in Arabic because they understand that the majority of the people are Arabic speaking. But the guy got to a point where today he integrated ChatGPT in it. So when you talk and you report a problem on it, ChatGPT classify it into one of the existing problems, so you can see what's the ranking of this problem, and that's really like that's mind-boggling. And they're learning more. They already knows about the Arabic model that G42 has built. They're learning about the multiple model. They're comparing which one performance, and it's really like really inspiring how resilient and how strong these young people are.
That's great. Can we just walk through a couple more examples of startups that you saw that we'd like to hear about? Is there other examples that you can share?
Sure, I can speak about examples, but I'd also like to take a little bit of a macro picture and go back to a point that Rania brought up, which is the great need to analyze what is there and what is not. It seems like a lot of the startups that we saw are Me Too startups. So I saw this in the GCC and I'm replicating it. And that's great. There is room to do that. But they're also all huddling around certain spaces like e-commerce, like food delivery apps. And there's a great wide need beyond that. So instead of I think I saw 5 companies that are doing baccalaureate apps. How do you prepare for the baccalaureate exam? And they're all taking it from different perspectives, but that market is limited, and you're going to have to renew your customer every year, which is quite expensive. What about all of the potential expatriates coming in, connections apps, tourism apps? What about the services for people that are marginalized across the reef? Like, there's so many different spaces that they're not thinking of that I think that's where the opportunity is for us to work with them. I would also add one more thing. It's both looking at the startups is important, but looking at the profile of the Syrian investors outside of tech and the opportunities there. The textile industry is an example. You've got business people that are wanting to come back and rebuild from scratch. The supply chain management opportunity within that space is incredible. And repeat that to all of the other sectors. And a lot of the businesses in tech are not thinking about that, and we can help them go there.
Any other examples amongst the panelists? But before we go to the next question, we're starting to run out of time.
So one more example of just the depth and breadth of the understanding of these young people. A group was working on a stable coin, like Syrian stable coin. And I was really impressed by their understanding of the legal complexity and the financial complexity of this project. They're trying to work with the government, trying to replicate. They studied what USDT did here, how they did it overseas, and then they brought it into the US. They're trying to figure out if that model also will work there. So this kind of broad and deep understanding and research that these young people are doing is really impressive.
Thank you. I'm going to switch to a little bit of what are the resources that are today available? I just spoke to a couple of folks here. There's a few organizations, what kind of accelerators, funds, social media, what other, networking solutions, what have you seen or what are you recommending? I know Basil has set up an organization, YS, that's trying to help out with as a hub and so forth. Go ahead.
So it'd be great if, I don't know if we can either put it up on the screen or Rama can talk to us about the website that she was talking about that is, connecting all of the investment community together. There's great research that's been done on the ground. There's Sufyan Bayram did this
Startup Syria.
Startup Syria, and then the name of the website, which is investsyria.info.
Right, yeah, so with investsyria.info, we're mapping the ecosystem and showcasing both the startups as well as who else is working within the field and collaborating. And then with there's Sufyan Bayram and all of the reports that he's created. The Syrian Forum has done a great job in doing an assessment, and I don't know if they've published a report or they can speak about it. And of course, Sanad that does the incubation programs for startups. They're a nonprofit based in Syria, and I'm blanking out on a few others, but you know, we through investsyria.info, we should be able to feature most of them.
Okay. And I think by this time next year, there's going to be 20 times what we just mentioned.
Sure. Are there any funds being considered to support these startups locally and so forth? Have we heard of anything, or I've heard people are thinking about it?
We're in the middle of putting something together, right? You know, we talk about this together, and you know, we've been collaborating for a few weeks since SYNC Damascus. There are different views that we're coming together, but perhaps your typical VC structure may not necessarily work in Syria right now for a variety of reasons. We don't have that level of depth in our capital markets, you know, to build businesses for exits or have that close-ended fund. Also, the critical need for so many digital services to emerge. So perhaps you know, more of a venture studio or a venture builder type of setup is being considered, in like a holding company. And I'm working with a few friends, and everybody on the panel is also talking about collaborating. So yeah, there's a lot of activity.
Yeah, it's also worthy of mentioning that the Syrian Forum had initiated a fund in northern Syria where sanctions don't apply, and they've worked under the guidance of the US government on setting this up. I think it's a Delaware-based organization, and they had already deployed into 5 or 7 projects, I don't remember what they said, in northern Syria specifically, tech projects.
Well, that's very helpful. I think I've been essentially informed that we've run out of time. I want to thank all of you for helping us here and informing the rest of the attendees. Thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you, everyone.